Mistie Layne. You're welcome to Vicky O Show.
Thank you for having me.
I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. And why? I'm so much interested in, people who have gone through struggle, adversity, and now they're doing great things and greater things. I love to hear their stories, and I love to share it with other people. Why is that? Because there are so many people around the world struggling. They are struggling because they don't have the knowledge as to how they can get themselves out of the problem, what they're going through. But because you've been through a lot, and now here you are, sharing your stories. And your story is more interesting to me because you are an ideal woman, the kind of woman that most people want to be like. Strong, brilliant, clever. But you missed the road at a point. But now you found your way. How did you do it? What kind of strength did you tap into? And not just that, as far as I'm concerned, being a drug and alcohol counselor for years ago, I'm more interested in how you've been able to do it. So I'm not going to go into it because this is your story. I'd like you to share your story with Vicky O's audience.
Oh.
So you're welcome, Mistie.
Thank you so much.
So, tell us about you. Tell us about Mistie. Who is Mistie Layne?
Mistie Layne.
I love the name, Mistie Layne. Mistie Layne.
It's actually my first and middle name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a singer's name.
Yeah.
So you got to be on the stage speaking and impacting, So let's just do this first.
Okay.
Yes.
So Mistie Layne is a survivor. I'm truly blessed beyond measure to be where I am today. If I would have been told 13, 14, 15 years ago that I would be standing on stages speaking truth about all the wrongs I did out there to people, I would say you're crazy. But it's a path, it's a process, and it was a choice. It was a choice to decide to be present and overcome. And for me, it was about realizing that I had to find the value, because coming out of a 10-year addiction, coming out of an extremely serious domestic abuse relationship, I was stripped to nothing. I went from being that strong, confident beauty queen winner from Texas with the crown and the banner and all the attention and validation to a woman afraid to speak out loud in fear of getting hit, to a woman that didn't know what kind of food I liked anymore because he dictated everything. And because of the drugs and how I allowed it to take over my life and become so enslaved to it, he was able to manipulate me. I opened that door and allowed it. And so for me, it's all about realizing that I wanted to live through it and be present. And then it's about doing the work that was required to heal what I was trying to cover up that I felt was broken inside. And that's really what the journey's been about, because anyone can come through adversity once they make their mind, because we all have that inner strength. We all have that deep rooted, when nobody else is around and you have to make that tough choice and have a tough, goal.
Decision, goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Who really does it for you? It's really you.
It's your journey.
It's really you that it's tapping into that inner strength and realizing you have it. And once you do, you can accomplish anything.
Exactly. And when you now look at, we're moms, right?
Yes.
You are there trying to push out your baby. Nobody can do it for you.
Nobody.
Not your husband, not your mom, nobody. It's your job to make sure you push and keep pushing until the baby pops out.
That's right.
And it's the same thing as what you're talking about. Making the choice and taking the action.
Yes.
I had an interview with someone earlier this morning, and we talked about the same thing. And addiction, getting over it. It's not something that comes easy. You can make the decision, but if you don't know what your priorities are, it makes it more difficult. You make the decision and then you fall back. But when you now put your priorities right, that okay, because of this is very important to me, my health, my children. So what will be what was yours at that stage that made you decide, now this is enough?
Well, Vicky, unfortunately, it wasn't a decision of mine to stop. I tried that. I did everything I could. I went to every rehab. I read books. My parents were on board. They tried to help me. I begged. I made deals, with my God. I did everything. And I was unsuccessful. It took my devastating event, which was me getting in that car wreck that day where I was attacked and robbed in a place I shouldn't have been. And someone died. And it took that for me to realize, whoa, okay, you need to take a strong, deep look here at what's going on and love yourself enough to want to be present. Because I'd lost love for myself. I didn't feel I had any value. And it's a process to learn that you do. We all have value. I believe we all have a destiny. I believe today, 13 years out now, I can look back and see it, that I was chosen all along because I have come out such a strong person. I have empathy and compassion in areas I never would have had before.
Wow.
Because I used to judge. I saw a woman with a black eye and I would think, she's weak. Doesn't she know that's not love? I would feel sorry for her in that way.
Yeah.
Now I understand it. Because
you've been through it.
I was carried through it and protected through it. So now I could speak of it. Because until you can go to a counselor, and I love counselors. I'm for therapy and professional help 100%. But there's a difference of talking with someone that has had a man or a spouse beat them and understand the shame that we internalize from it, from someone that reading about it in a book and saying, well, you shouldn't feel this way.
It's totally different.
You can't tell me what I should or shouldn't feel unless you've been feeling it yourself.
Be in my shoes.
That's right. The second chapter in my book is never say never, because there's so many things I thought I would never do in my addiction because I was strong. But, as you know, you deal with it. Any kind of addiction is a progressive, especially alcohol is a progressive disease. And with time, I promise you will do those things that you say.
Because you develop high tolerance for the substance, and then it takes over.
It takes over, and you just, at that point, when you get to that point in your life, you've done so much damage to your family, you've done so much financial damage, you've ruined your career by then, that you've given up. So what happens is we start justifying our behavior. If I didn't think I would ever steal anything from my parents. I was a good kid growing up. I never did those kind of things. And I'll never forget the day I walked in and my parents were asleep, and I took my mom's wedding and pawned it. And I can say that today with transparency because I believe that's necessary.
Exactly, yes.
People need to know if you want to go get high at a party, you need to be educated what you're signing up for. It might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but there will be a day in your disease and your progression of your addiction that it will happen. Exactly. Yes.
I work with lots of people who, rich, famous people, in their addiction journey that wanted to give up, that wanted to stop using, and they struggle. But they struggle because they refuse to accept what they were going through. I remember one that came to me and said, I'm not like those drug users. Because he has money, he has fame, he has wife, he has, beautiful things of life. But he didn't see himself as a drug user. Meanwhile, he was using intravenously. He was spending $5,000 and above every single month. But because money was rolling in, he thought, I'm not like them. I have my houses, I have my wife. I'm not a drug user like them.
Today. But eventually.
Eventually it got to that point. He nearly lost it all.
I did lose it all. I lost everything. Everything I had. Everything, including my family. Because at some point they had to protect themselves and get away. And it took that. It took me having to stand on my own 2 feet. It took me having to realize that I was the person that had to pull myself up to do the work and do it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And not to say my family wasn't supportive. They were always going to be there for me when I was ready.
Exactly. When
I was ready.
And that's some of the things that I do talk to parents that come to me because of a child with addiction. And what do we do? How do we? Well, we don't know what to do, you know? Tough love. You've got to kind of push back. That no,
You do.
remove the safety net. When you keep coming with the net to say, we're here for you,
Absolutely.
jump whenever, you're enabling that child.
Very much so.
And some do struggle with that fact. And you've nailed it. They love you. Your parents
Absolutely.
but they had to protect themselves because it got to the point whereby you didn't even know what you were doing.
That's right.
You didn't know because the substance had already taken over. So they had to look after themselves and say, yeah, okay, when you're ready, we will be here. But no more taking advantage of us.
The person I had become, Vicky, when I would walk by the mirror, I was scared of the person I saw because that person was cold and it was past the point of not caring anymore. It was, you're numb to it. That it didn't even bother me that I didn't have a conscience about it. That was beyond for me. But one of the things people ask me a lot, the same like you just said, families that have loved ones struggle, and they say, what can we do? And I always stress to them, I can tell you what not to do. You don't tell them what they need to do.
Exactly.
You don't tell them the things they've done wrong because they already know the things they've done wrong. When I used to go out and do things wrong, I would beat myself up. No one is going to beat me up worse than me. So what would happen for me, because I had a crack cocaine addiction and I would be gone 3-4 days, we call them missions, 3-4 days at a time, no sleep, just 24/7 using drugs. Would finally go home, or my husband, who was an auto theft detective, a police officer, would find me and bring me home. So I was on the run from him to my family would look all hours of the night for me to bring me home. What would happen is I'm already beating myself up, but they're so angry at me, they start like verbally beating
So
me up.
you were already there and they were trying to...
Well, because they're angry.
Because they were angry, of
And
course.
so what happens is it would send me back out the door because I couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
So my advice is, if you have someone that you love and you want to help them, truly help them, is you don't tell them what they need to do. You explain to them and show them that they have value and worth. You don't say, I can't believe you just ran off and left your kid. I can't believe you just cost us $3,000 and we had to do this. You say things like, it's okay. You're going to struggle with those demons yourself. But you know what? I've seen you interact with those kids when you're room mom at your kid's school. I've seen the things you do for people in your community. Or I see the kind of heart you have. Or you're really smart about this. And you build them up because we are so low, we don't need any more beatings.
Beating, exactly.
Physically, emotionally, verbally, anyway. We need to be lifted because that's the problem. We don't love ourselves. So, and that's what I tell families is now after we've been through like a rehab, and we come back, we're better. We've gone through the process we needed to get better, but our families are still stuck in that addiction.
Exactly.
So what happens is they still see us as liars and cheaters and manipulators because they don't know we're better.
Exactly.
So the advice I give on that situation is be patient on both sides. When it's time because once our families know we're safe, then they feel they're okay to start letting their anger come through. it needs to be done in a therapeutic situation with a mediator, because it's very shaky ground. It's a very critical time for us. We're trying to rebuild and understand that we're worth, and so those criticisms need to be constructive and therapeutic, not demeaning. So that's my advice: is be patient, let the process take place with a professional.
And I could hear the words of a wise man that said, "See a man the way you want that person to be."
Yes.
Not the way the person is.
Yes.
The way. So when you talk to your loved ones, you talk to them in the way you want, then you see them in the future, clean, not on drugs, working, interacting with their children, doing well. And when you can form that in your mind, even though, you get angry, you get disappointed, but focus on the future, focus on the end in mind, that this is what I want from my child. This is how I want this child to look like, to be like. And then when you talk to that child, you talk to that child in that frame, not like the way that person is right now. And I could hear from you that the more of the negativity, because of the way they were feeling, they push it onto you. What's next? You're already on the ground. What's next? The next thing I would like us to talk about, which is something that I've been digging into lately, is about getting over drug use. Not with pharmacotherapy, because that's something that I struggle with clients that was given up drugs and were still being prescribed. What is it called?
Like Neurontin or methadone.
Methadone, plan, all those kind of medications. They, as far as I'm concerned, because I see them when they were on drugs, cocaine, heroin, and I see them when they're on heroin. What's the difference? They still look the same, they still behave the same. They, I'm now trying to dig into other methods, other workable way, other reliable way to help those people struggling with opiate addiction to be able to get over it in a more natural way, easier way. And I've talked to somebody who is a wellness person, wellness doctor in Toronto, who is specialized in this field, and she's using lights and audio and all of that kind of stuff to help. Now tell me, because you made a comment on one of my posts and I'm quite interested in it. So expand or talk a bit more about what and what you did to help you get over this.
I personally use writing as the therapy that saved my life. It was. I do believe, Vicky, that the whole chemical makeup of the brain, and once I went and understood and got educated on how it works, antidepressants I think have their place, but I understand what you're talking about. To replace one addiction for another is definitely, it
doesn't work.
It's not. Like I said, I feel like every addiction that we have in life is a void, like an empty space we're trying to fill.
Yeah.
And looking back, even before my cocaine addiction, I've made the comment in my book that my first real addiction was Little Debbie zebra cakes, the little snack cakes, because I would use food. And that went from the whole being raised in the pageant system, that whole perfectionism. And when I wasn't perfect, I internalized it as a failure. If I didn't win, I'm a failure, and I would use food. So, and I still do today. I'm still struggling with that. But writing is so therapeutic, and I'm a firm believer that it's the physical writing with the pen.
Exactly.
Not the voice, not the type to text. There's something magical about
picking up a pen and the book and writing things down.
Flowing out of you.
Exactly.
because it's a flowing out. So what I have is called toxic dump. It's called a toxic dump, and it's just a quick writing exercise where you just write everything down that's on your mind. And what that does is it lowers that wall of shame. It gets that initial anger out. Once you've gotten through that really deep-seated anger and you know, I guess it's just all anger and shame. Once that lowers, now you can see what's inside that you really need to address. Because when I went to jail facing a 40-year prison sentence, I was angry. I was blameful. I blamed everybody around me. When my husband cheated on me, got a woman pregnant. That's why I had to drop out of medical school, and that's when I started doing cocaine, and that's when I hooked up with my drug dealer. And because of that, I never looked at me. And so what that did for me is it made me realize that, no, you have to take accountability. It was my choice at 31 years old to do the first line of cocaine. Not my ex-husband's choice, it was mine. So you have to be accountable, and that's why I rewrote my book once I got out of prison and made it from a place of accountability and forgiveness instead of anger and blame. Because I was able to identify during my drug addiction, I had a couple of abortions, and I never dealt with the pain. I never dealt with the grief. I used cocaine to numb it. And I realized through my writing that I was hurting. I was hurting so deeply. And I was allowed at that point, once I was able to discover that I had the pain, I gave myself permission to hurt and grieve. And that healing process has to take place to forgive yourself. And that was my biggest thing, is I could forgive other people, but I couldn't forgive Mistie. And once I learned that I had value and that I had worth and that I could love myself, I was able to forgive myself. And the biggest component for me through everything is that once I realized that I could help someone else through my pain, that made it all worth it. Made everything worth it, because it lifts you. You know, I always tell people, if you're in your rock bottom place and you feel that there's no way out, you find someone that has it worse, because there's always someone that's worse.
Of course, yes.
You reach out your hand, and you don't know everything, but you lift them up and help them with what you know. And when you do it, you realize you have value.
Exactly.
You feel better, and you've taken all that negative energy, because we put so much negative energy on ourselves to put ourselves down. If we transfer that energy to lifting someone else up instead, it's a beautiful transference. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful.
I have my favorite saying. It's my own words, and I just say this a lot because this is something that I experience every single day of my life, which is when I'm busy bending down to lift somebody up, the storm ranges over, just goes over. So I'm not caught up in the storm of life because I'm there busy helping somebody else. And that's just the way life is. If we can put our energy into helping others, into lifting other people, into doing things for other people, it makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely.
And yes, those issues that you may be focusing on will be dealt with later on. You'll be in a better frame of mind to fix what needed to be fixed. You're not, chewing and struggling with it anymore. It's been great talking to you about this, and I would love to talk to you about it more. I would like to do another 2-3 more sessions with you, because this is just the beginning of things that I really want to talk to you about. Thank you so much for coming on to Vicky O Show. I really appreciate you. Keep impacting the world. Keep doing it. Keep using the power of your voice. Thank you, Mistie.
Thank you so much.